Welcome back. Now, our first conversation is a rather sad one, and it has elicited public outrage on social media and even on site where the conversation is being had. 7 years after 13-year-old Ochanya Ogbanji was raped and died as a result of the illness, incurred from years of abuse from her guardian. The hashtag Justice for Ochanya has resurfaced online. Now, for context, those found culpable in this saga, her guardian, Obuja, and his wife, Felicia Obuja, which were tried in separate cases. NAPTIP initiated a civil case against the wife of the alleged perpetrator, Felicia Obuja, who was convicted for failing to protect the little girl even after knowledge of the abuse, years of abuse, and she was convicted. But in another case, a criminal case of rape and other charges, manslaughter, because the little girl died, Andrew Obuja, I believe that's his name, was discharged and acquitted because of discrepancies in the evidence provided by the prosecutor. And so why is this case returning? Because it was tried and dispensed in 2022. We'll have that conversation because it speaks to our justice system. And many who have been speaking, who have been concerned about this case are saying it is representative of not just Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanji, but many others who are perhaps going through this, and the justice system has failed them. Don't forget that amid all of this, there are testimonies online of the deceased when she was talking about how the abuse went on. And the abuse was not done allegedly by the perpetrator who was tried alone. That's Andrew Obuja, but his son as well, if you have heard the testimony given by the deceased before her passing. And joining us now on the program is the elder brother of the deceased, John Ame, who is also a journalist. He joins us from our Abuja studio. And Mr. Kruha, Ukan Kruha, a civil society activist, will also be joining us virtually on the program. But let's start with you, John. It's good to have you on the program. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, take us through the trial and how we got here, and what you frown on in the process of that the trial of the perpetrators, those who were found culpable and the acquitted, what you found to be discrepancies that are not aligning.
Okay. The process that led to the arrest and eventual prosecution of Andrew Obuja and his wife, Felicia Obuja, was a very difficult one. If we go back to when Ochanya died on 17th of October 2018, it became clear that we were in for a long haul. And the process eventually started with, of course, reporting to the police that Ochanya had been serially raped by Mr. Obuja and his son, Victor Obuja, who was then an undergraduate at the Federal University of Agriculture in Makurdi. But after the initial arrest of Mr. Obuja, his son went underground. And then we asked the police to find him and make him account for what has happened to Ochanya. But the police never did that. And then, sadly, Ochanya passed in October, even before the next adjourned date when Mr. Obuja was first brought to court in August of 2018. Now, with Ochanya's passing, the police began a fresh investigation into the matter. And then Ochanya's remains were conveyed to Makurdi, where an autopsy was conducted on her at the Federal Medical Center. And then I was there. Her body was taken back to Otukpo, where she died, and then we kept her in the morgue. Then there was a need for a second opinion of the autopsy. And then medical experts came to take her samples, which was conducted at, another autopsy was conducted at the police laboratory center in Lagos, the forensic center belonging to the police. So, obviously, there are two medical reports here now, talking about autopsy reports here regarding the case. And these reports were presented before the court, the State High Court in Makurdi, that is the Benue State High Court, presided over by Justice Augustine Itohiman, who is now a judge on the bench of the Court of Appeal. In his evaluation of the evidence before him, he did say there were two medical reports, autopsy reports, and he was at a loss as to which to choose from the two. But of course, we know that the police have the statutory duty to do investigation. They are the foremost law enforcement agency. And then they have a specialized laboratory for this kind of investigation. And they came up with their report. So if you are to look at all of this, if you are to examine the two autopsy reports, you would discover that the one from the police is more authentic than whatever autopsy that was conducted on Ochanya by the Federal Medical Center in Makurdi. So that was the basis for the judge saying there were discrepancies in the autopsy reports that the prosecution led in the course of the trial. And then he went on to say, Ochanya did not Ochanya did not give an account of her travail, despite the fact that a video recording of Ochanya was played in court, where she spoke clearly about what has happened to her and the persons that were responsible, specifically Mr. Andrew Ogbuja and his son Victor Ogbuja. So there was no ambiguity about what happened to Ochanya, and she made it clear. But the judge again went on to say, she was not around to be cross-examined. And these were the two basic grounds for the discharge and acquittal of Mr. Ogbuja.
I'd like to follow up on the reports presented to the judge in the trial of Mr. Andrew Ogbuja. But my colleague in South Africa, Jeffrey, has a question for you. Jeffrey, over to you.
Yeah, let me stay with you, Mr. Peter, for a moment. Looking through this case, there seems to be some level of a contradiction on the cases that relates to this girl. On one hand, we understand the court had found the mother, the wife of the person who is accused, and the son of negligence. On the other hand, the case of the first court, as you've seen it play out, as far as this particular matter is concerned. Now, what we understand is that has caused this resurgence is to the effect that the gentleman who has been on the lookout, who is accused of being partly responsible, allegedly, of these things, has been seen online flaunting and all of that. What I want to find out from you, when it comes to issues of court and judgment and all of this, there has to be a next step, next reaction. What is that next step? Because anger may not just be enough.
Okay, yeah, it's very simple. The police know what they ought to do. Their statutory responsibility is to prevent a crime. And if in the event that they fail to prevent crime, it occurs, they have to investigate and bring the perpetrators to justice. What they are supposed to do at the moment is to declare Victor Buja wanted and launch a manhunt to arrest him. There are no two ways about it. They have to do that as quickly as possible. Not just Victor Buja, including the sister, Winifred Obuja, who started the whole of this problem in terms of their online visibility. So if the police are serious in getting to the root of this matter, they are immediately required to launch a manhunt to arrest Victor Obuja. He cannot be hiding for 7 good years since Ochanya passed away. And you're telling us that you can't find him, whereas on a daily basis, journalists and civil rights activists are being arrested by police on flimsy issues of cyber bullying and all manner of issues that are related to politicians and the elite. We can't be operating like we are in Stone Age. This is the 21st century. Nigeria cannot afford to live in this manner. We're talking about a child, a teenager, a 13-year-old. What that tells us about Nigeria is that this country does not care about the vulnerable people. And for context, we must situate this issue in the right context. Because the Obujas are not acting alone. If you would like to know, this is a lecturer at the State Polytechnic in Ubokolo. But he has the backing of top people because we are being harassed, intimidated, and threatened. In fact, my life is in danger. Since the resurgence the renewed cause for justice, I no longer stay at home because I know that they are against the advocacy that is going on, calling for justice. The groundswell of support has been overwhelming. And they don't want that. So with the support of their collaborators, they feel that they can bully people out of the struggle and then threaten them with death. Our parents are there in the village with no protection. I wrote several times. So these are the issues that are at stake.
Mr. Mayor, yes, just to confirm for us that information, because it's really, concerning and disturbing. When you say you're receiving threats, confirm for us how, text messages, calls, do you have evidence to prove, and from who?
Okay, now, this is the point. In 2018, when Mrs. Obuja was arraigned at the Federal High Court in Makurdi by NAPTIP, I went to the court to witness proceedings, and I was attacked by Mrs. Obuja's younger sibling, who is by the name Inaligu Ochiga. He came there with his goons, and then tried to harass me, and then at the end of the day, he told me categorically that I will deal with you. You will see what will happen to you in the course of this trial. And subsequent, my subsequent appearance in court, we were met with the same kind of treatment. I wrote a petition to the Commissioner of Police in Benue State, telling him about the threats that I've received verbally from the family of Mrs. Obuja, particularly her siblings. But they never did anything about it. I wrote the Inspector General of Police telling him that we need security, we need protection, including witnesses that were being intimidated not to go to court.
All right.
To testify in this matter. They are there. And for context, let me put it clearly in here now. They're talking about it. Let's be clear about this. They came out to say it. Even they were saying it, that they have the backing, they have the support of people who would help them. Someone, for instance, like Senator Abamuru, they said he could help them. He is the current Senate Minority Leader, but Apamoro came out to deny that he had no hand in it. But it became troubling because for 7 years, could you imagine for 7 years that the police, for such a despicable crime, the police has refused to arrest the principal perpetrator of this crime? That is shocking. It only tells you about what we do as a country. It tells you about the failure of government in fighting crime, specifically the police.
All right. Mr. Mayor, I'm not quite sure that under the laws, a person that had been tried and acquitted before can be retried. I'm not quite sure about that. But for the fugitive, who is the son to the perpetrator, alleged perpetrator who was tried and acquitted, there are reports that new evidence is resurfacing online and the case has been reinstituted. Can you confirm that to us? While you're also telling us why this hashtag Justice for Ochanya has resurfaced online after the trial was dispensed with in 2022. What series of events precipitated this?
No, you can't say that the matter has come to an end. It hasn't, because the principal suspect in this matter has not been arrested. He's not been put on trial. I remember, Ms. Ogbuja was convicted as a result of this case. So if you have, there are two issues. I mean, you have on one issue, two different outcomes. That is strange. Ms. Ogbuja went up to the Court of Appeal to obtain, she sought to obtain her conviction, but the Court of Appeal affirmed her conviction and even came harder on her for allowing her son and husband to rape Ochanya up to the point that she suffered immensely and then passed away. So it is for the police. As a matter of fact, there should be no need for saying, oh, you need to write a petition to the Inspector General of Police to restart the case. The case is active.
All right.
Victor Ogbuja is a fugitive. So they should go after him. This is an opportunity for the Inspector General of Police to declare him wanted and ask the Commissioner of Police in Benue and all over the country to launch him out and arrest him. All right, Peter. There is something he cannot, even if it's outside of the shores of the country, he should be brought in to account for what has happened here.
Mr. Mayor, let's get more perspectives to this discussion. We are joined as well by Mr. Okankuru, who is a gender and human rights activist. He joins us virtually as well. Mr. Kuru, thank you indeed for holding on and standing by there following the conversation. Rape in Nigeria is a pervasive issue. The data around it indicates a really, really high prevalence. Walk us through just how this story from your end is shaping up, plus the fact that perhaps you can walk us through some numbers as well in Benue State. How much of a prevalence is this in Benue State as well?
Morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me. My network is very bad. I just pray I'll be able to hit the point because the network has been very bad.
You can go ahead as quickly as possible.
So we know that rape is a crime. And it's disheartening to say that we're bringing back Ochanya's issue again. And I'm happy at the same time that Ochanya's spirit is not resting because we've sought for justice. We thought we got it, but the Ochanya's spirit has been telling us that, look, you guys will have to let me rest. So we're up again. But let me tell you something about rape cases in Nigeria, but let me bring it down to my catchment area, which is Benue State. In Benue, I'm accusing, and I'll be very strict with it. I don't want to mince my words with anybody. In Benue State, I've followed issues of rape cases. It will interest you to know that policemen, men of the Nigerian police, we call for settlement of rape cases, especially in the rural areas. I have so much complaints, so much reports coming out from the villages where there will be a case of rape to be taken to court. The family will come and settle a DPO, settle a police officer, and they will tell you, please, you guys should go home and settle. Or sometimes you will hear something like, the family came with 52 bags of yam, goat, chicken, gave the DPO like this, and cases are settled. These things we hear these things every day. It is how would I put it? It is abnormal to what is happening in Benue State. The police have not helped matters. Half of the cases that have to do with rape taken to the police stations in Benue are not solved.
Mr. Kuru.
Somehow it fizzles into the yes, go ahead.
Mr. Kuru, these are indeed very weighty allegations. Are you willing to perhaps supply Channels TV with evidences of these allegations you're making?
Yes, I'm saying it.
No, I'm asking, do you have evidence? Can you provide us with evidences, to ensure that we can corroborate these allegations you're making?
Some of these families are so much alive. The police can even go ahead as far as, but let me tell you, this happens more in the rural areas, because in the state capital, which is Makurdi, the Benue State capital, it's going to be difficult for them to do that. But some of these things happen in the rural areas where these people find it difficult for cases to move down to the state capital, maybe for transportation, or maybe who will follow it up for them, why they're in Makurdi to follow up the case, where would they stay, what would they eat. So these things are settled at the villages. I know a lot of this. I know a lot for a fact. I've been an activist for 18 years. Sometimes I break down because I can't literally even help myself. And I just laugh. And I'm ready to prove it. These families are alive. They're here. They're in Benue State. Just a call. And they will come up. So many cases of rape have not been settled in Benue and within the jurisdiction of the Nigerian Police Benue State Command. It's something if you go to my Facebook page, my Twitter account, it's something I've constantly been talking about. And that is why I wasn't surprised when Ochanya's case went this way. There were too much interference. It's so disheartening that we have come back to square one at this point.
It's a very similar tale across the landscape in the trial of sexual and gender-based violence cases in the country. A question mark, that places a question mark on gender desks at different police stations in the country. I'm quite familiar, with your narrative. But in the case in which the wife of the alleged perpetrator was tried and convicted, I want you to speak to how fair that trial process was, because there were reports to the effect that the defense, protected a principal witness from testifying in that case, and that's the daughter of the perpetrator, who was privy to the abuse that was ongoing, because there are reports that Ochanya actually told Winifred Obuja, I believe that's her name, about her ordeal, and nothing was done about it. So how fair was that trial process? And speak to that particular element of, the defense not allowing Winifred to testify, and how the court went through with the trial regardless.
Okay. I might just be very brief on that, because we were quite disappointed, because when this whole stuff started, Ochanya reported to Winifred. Winifred told the father. So Winifred was the one who, from the onset, knew about how all this started. But the mother protected her from coming to testify. Even in court, we weren't satisfied with everything that was happening. And so in the long and short of it, we weren't satisfied, we're not convinced, we're not happy as to how it went. But in fact, making it worse off is for you to go to Winifred's X account and see what Winifred has been posting. This is somebody who was supposed to testify and help this case go smoothly. See what she has been posting about the father and the brother who allegedly is being accused of also doing what she did to Ochanya before Ochanya passed away. So that's the point where we are now. We're not okay. I don't know how to start saying everything that went through the court, because, the more I talk about this, the more emotional I feel and the more pain I feel within myself, because it would have been anybody's child, it would have been anybody's daughter, it would have been anybody's sister.
All right. Let's just quickly put it out there that we reached out to the public relations officer of the police command in Benue State yesterday, prior to having this conversation, and our, entities to getting their side to the story, how well the investigations went amid the prosecution. But, our entities were turned down, on both sides, from here and, of course, Mr. John Ame, who's our guest, also reached out to the police command in Benue State to have them on the program. And we'll reach out to them again. And this is an open invitation to the police, especially amid this conversation and what is coming through also from Mr. Ahmed, that he still is getting threats to his life. Speaking of which, Mr. Ahmed, I want you to speak to that. These threats that you say you're still getting from those involved in this case on the other side of the divide, have you reported to the police in Benue State or to any other relevant police command?
Yes. You see, this is not the first time since the renewed call for justice about a week ago now. The threats have intensified because I'm being accused for being in the forefront of this struggle for justice. And I have no regrets about it. In fact, if it is going to take my life, I'm willing to do it because this is what is called good trouble. If, to borrow the words of John Lewis, the late U.S. civil rights icon, this is good trouble, and we must get into good trouble. We must make necessary trouble. These people are out to get everyone out of the case. And these threats are very simple. In 2019, I wrote a petition to the Inspector General, to the Commissioner of Police in Benue State. Now, let me read part of that to you for want of time. Now, I wrote to the Commissioner of Police in Benue State, narrating how I was attacked at the Federal High Court in Makurdi. They did nothing about it. The police did nothing about it. Upon my return to Abuja, which is my base, my lawyer wrote the Inspector General of Police, Barrister Anthony Agbalaho. He wrote the Inspector General of Police, then Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, who is now retired. The police did nothing about it. And since then, we've kept going to court up until the day judgment was delivered on 28th of April, 2022, at the Federal High Court, both at the State High Court and at the Federal High Court. These judgments were delivered on the same day. Now, after the delivery of the judgment at the Federal High Court, and Mrs. Obuja was convicted, her family, her siblings, and their supporters all came to the court. As soon as she was convicted, they surrounded the court. They took over the court. In fact, they overwhelmed the NAPTIP officials and law enforcement agents and said they were never going to take their sister away, that she would be driven in their car. She was to be driven in their car to the prison facility in Makurdi. That is how violent they are. So these are things that are there. It's not hidden. They do these things. And it will surprise you to know that they do this because they have the backing of people who are in power. Oh. Otherwise, ordinary folks don't get this kind of treatment. Yeah, so it's very clear.
So I think you have made that point. And listening to you now, these stories are really very terrifying. I imagine that the family of the late Ochanya should be very, very devastated by these events. And of the truth, I've had to look at the numbers of rape cases in Nigeria, for instance. They're really conflicting. The police has the lowest numbers in terms of cases reported in Nigeria. In fact, the National Human Rights has about 1,000 plus. The United Nations places it at about 1,000 as well, over 1,000, so below what the police is placing. So I imagine this is a big concern for you. But maybe in 20 seconds or less, walk us through how devastated the parents of this 13-year-old would be feeling, or how they are feeling now. I imagine that it would be a whole lot for them to digest.
It's quite traumatizing. I mean, we've been re-traumatized with the renewed call for justice in Ochanya's case. However, it's a bit suiting with the support from Nigerians across diverse backgrounds. I've been inundated with calls from many Nigerians. It's been really difficult for us as a family. It's been a challenging time for us again, having to relive the sordid circumstances that led to Ochanya's passing. Just think about it. If she were, the daughter of a prominent person, an elite, would this be happening to her? Would this be happening to us as a family?
All right.
Certainly not. Certainly not. And it is unfortunate if the Inspector General of Police, including the First Lady of Nigeria and the President, if they really are in charge of this country, they must find these people and bring them to justice, no matter how long it takes.
All right. All right. We must definitely anchor at this point. We empathize with you as you continue in your quest for justice in the case of Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje, and we hope that the police can respond to this clarion call to have the other accused arrested, such that a trial can commence yet again. And we hope that there's fairness if this indeed goes through, because it is representative of many other cases, amid the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. We've been talking with Mr. John Ame, elder brother of Ochanya Elizabeth, the deceased in this case, who is yet to get justice, and Mr. Uka Kuru, who is a gender and human rights activist who joined us virtually. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. And so we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll speak to another equally important issue: the constant accidents on the highways and the state of infrastructure on those highways. Stay with us for this next one. We'll be right back.